That's one of the biggest struggles I have with some of my clients is getting them to give me more feedback. And I'm not doing it to be annoying. Like, I'm not trying to nag. It's because I can write you a perfect program or try to write a perfect program, but if it's not stimulating you, psychologically as well, like it could be everything you need based on assessment and numbers, but if you're bored during it, like I need to know that, because we might have to think outside of the box a little bit and keep you in tune. So are you really big on that? Like getting feedback from your clients?
Absolutely. It's frustrating because they kind of take it the wrong way sometimes. It's like, well, here's the program, and they think like this is gospel and it has to be done this exact way. I need to know how it's affecting you, and is this actually happening? Is this too much work, too little work? And I actually had one person recently even lie to me on their notes and say they did all this stuff. I'm like, that does us no good.
After the episode, head over to iTunes or the Apple Podcast app if you have an iPhone, or the Stitcher app if you have an Android device. Go ahead and subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. We really appreciate that. Enjoy.
Head over to shruggedstrengthtest.com and take our free 3-day strength test. We'll send you 3 days of testing that takes about half an hour to about an hour each day. Each day you'll get exercises that we're going to walk you through, showing you step by step what to do. Once you finish the test, submit your results, and then we'll send you a bunch of feedback showing you where we think you could be stronger and then how to fix certain weaknesses that you might have found. Head over to shruggedstrengthtest.com to get started.
Good to go. Are you backing this up as we're filming it?
If we shoot this episode.
Can you back this up as we film it?
I can edit it.
Is it a requisite here to be a coach to look insanely jacked and have no hair?
Yes.
I feel like every coach I've seen is massive with very to little no hair.
It's an army of ass kickers. I mean, you get efficient here with time management and realizing not have to mess with your hair. It saves you a few seconds a day in the morning, so you get to work faster and not have to mess with it between sets.
I love it. The other thing too is you walk in and it's built like another gym that you've been to, where maybe it's like a Globo facility or whatnot, but instead of it being like kind of weird techno, Pantera's playing.
Right.
And it's so great. It's like, all right, this is the gym I'm going to walk into to get strong.
Yeah.
All right. So, where are we?
We are in St. Louis at Justin
What's up,
Thacker's
guys?
gyms.
Welcome to Barbell Shrugged. I'm your host, Mike
so
McGoldick, here with Alex Macklin, CTP behind the camera.
Word.
And our very special guest, Justin Thacker.
Hello.
We've had him on this. How many times have you been on the show
This
now?
is number 12, I think. 12.
Number 12.
Fourth episode.
Fourth episode.
What number was it?
I think you were on like 34, maybe.
CTP
Wow.
here.
He's got the archive.
How many do you have now?
223. It was just up just today, or this past week.
Wow.
So, pretty crazy, huh?
I'm not great with numbers, but that's like you've been on like 10% of our shows.
It's not too bad.
Fantastic. But I've never interviewed you, so I'm very excited. I'm excited to ask a
Yeah.
lot of questions, and we were kind of like putting our heads together, driving up, like, what could we ask this guy about? And I'm like, oh, man, I got a million things. So we're just going to shoot the shit today, man.
Sounds
I
good.
can't wait. Thanks for taking the time. So
My pleasure.
For those that don't know who Justin is, tell us a little bit about the gym, your background. Let these people know who you are.
Okay. Well, this gym is very unique for a reason. I got into personal training around 1999 and did a lot of personal training. I was in school in St. Louis University to be a dietitian and spent about 9 years at college there and spent all those years building up a clientele as a trainer and did a couple different degrees. And I was, a competitive weightlifter for many years from 1999 till tried to be till this day, but it kind of dried up around 2007 when I opened the gym. But it started off with more of this sort of environment where you have your private sector personal training, weight loss, preventative health type of thing. And that's really where things started and kicked off. And from there, as time went on, we were able to afford more building space, and CrossFit exploded and more people were interested in weightlifting. I was like, wow, I don't need these bumper plates and platforms just for myself. Other people actually want to use this, so it's actually nice. The fact that this can be a business move is outstanding. So time went on, and then we started in the new building. We added Team Lab, which would be our weightlifting area, which started off with about 5 platforms and exploded out to 24. And then we got into competitive CrossFit, and that required a lot more space, and now we have a whole different section for that. So controlling the music is actually the hardest thing. So we have man, I get complaints all day.
You get people like, can we change to something like
all
techno and EDM or some rap?
Man.
I have answered more music complaint emails than anything.
No way.
You pretty much keep it on this, right?
If it's up to me, it'd be like classic rock, metal type. Like, I want everyone to be happy, and it's like it's a nice focused sort of vibe and tune typically, and they don't have to like it, but it's like I always notice, hey, you just did that listening to Metallica, wasn't whatever crap. But people have to be comfortable and relax and have fun. So it's a happy medium I try to keep from, I've got clients in their 80s in one section to the younger population over here. So
oh, wow.
So when they all listen to Pantera, it's a great day.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
So do you work primarily with the weightlifters, or do you kind of just go around to all the different modalities that you got over here?
So these days, hands-on, it's mostly with weightlifters and competitive CrossFitters, and I still do a little bit, like, say every Saturday morning I coach the regular CrossFit class, but so I've as time has gone on, I did all the training. From everything program we've done, I've done that training and developed a model and system and program, and then developed our trainers to help do that system. And so it became impossible to stay on top of that and grow the business. So getting an awesome staff of trainers was the only way to do this. So I do a lot of work on that end and the back end and help them kind of make their jobs and lives easier. So as I've peeled out of the personal training, I've peeled out of CrossFit. Now, the weightlifting thing, it's you have to do it because you love it, because it's really, it's not for money, and it really, if anything, it's at odds with the business success. So that, I've got a lot of good coaches there, and it's really something I need to pull away from, but it just, you love it so much, it's hard to get rid of.
So you say you're doing your coaching CrossFit, and what was that kind of like transitioning from, because you come from pretty much a strict weightlifting background. Like, what was that like?
Well, it was interesting because, at first it's like, what is all this, and I kind of had some apprehension.
What is all this shit? What is going on? What's a thruster?
So I had apprehension with it at first, but like as I watched it and saw who was doing it and how they were doing it, who was coaching, it was like, this is really pretty simple, and it's not a big jump from any other sports performance sort of programming and training. So I gave it some more time and attention. This was in the early days too, though, and then I started coaching a lot of boot camp stuff, and there's a lot of things that I had done, as a wrestler and things like that over the years. And so it wasn't a big stretch. It was just applying the specific elements, doing the thruster, doing the burpee and all that. And I did loads of burpees as a wrestler, so that stuff was not a big reach. But adding barbell movements like the snatch and clean jerk to this was kind of the biggest thing. And so I had years of experience actually coaching boot camps, and then it was actually taking them and applying the worlds together, and it was pretty seamless for the most part. It was just, really getting into the culture was the most interesting thing, really. But, it's always at a divide of quality and quantity, and trying to get people to make the best decisions for, what they should be doing with the weight each day. And like we have, confusing CrossFit as a sport or a fitness program is really where people always get in trouble. And that's
two different things.
So as a fitness program, it's like very easy to like, hey, this is fun, and like you should not do that. That's going to mess you up, and we can move properly. We don't have to have the best frame time, but it's a very easy thing to do. When it becomes a sport, all bets are off, and it's like even with weightlifting, it can be very, very
it's very
safe.
Complex.
Yeah.
But that's interesting because it is complex. But you just said it was like very simple for you. Is that because you already kind of knew how to kind of design programming?
Programming is pretty straightforward, and then it just, as energy systems and how to prioritize workouts, and like when am I going to do my low rep heavy stuff and higher skill movements, when am I going to do my multiple rep less skill type movements and my conditioning stuff. That stuff's all pretty strength conditioning 101,
So this dude, by the way, is like a master wizard. We filmed a product with him not too long ago on barbellshrugged.com, world-class weightlifting. And this dude, I filmed it, so this dude comes in, and we only had like, what was it, Justin, like 2 days to film? 2 days. And this dude talked for 2 days. And I was sitting there with the camera just like, holy shit.
Right?
Yeah.
I remember being there during that.
And he never stopped.
I was trying to train quietly in the back, set the bars down.
You and I were eye-to-eye for 2 days.
I was blown away that you could just...
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
I think you were sleeping.
You weren't even
time.
reading slides. He was just going.
I don't want to derail too much. I want to get back to asking you more questions about the program, because I want everyone to learn about you as a coach. I mean, I'm very curious as well and how you do things. But for those of you that are listening to this, you need to go watch this video video because you got to see some of the video of this place right now. When you walk into this gym, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. You walk in, there's a reception desk. We're in a big hallway right now, and then connected to this hallway is like 5 different gyms. Like gym 1 is cardio room. There's treadmills, ellipticals. There's like tons of awesome stuff. Gym 2 is the CrossFit gym. It's pretty massive as well. I don't know how many square feet is the CrossFit gym.
I think it's around 5,600.
Right, like this is the size of most gyms.
Yeah,
it's insane.
huge.
And then we've got a massive weightlifting gym, the biggest weightlifting gym I've ever stepped foot in.
You've got more platforms than I've ever probably
How many
seen.
platforms are there?
24.
24 platforms.
Yeah.
It's insane. And then over here on the right, which is basically half the gym, is, I don't know, what do we call this room? Bro sesh.
Right.
Like, it's
Cybex
insane.
heaven.
Every machine that you want, every realm of strength training, fitness is here. It's really cool.
Man, it makes you feel like a kid. Like, I just want to go play.
It's
I
like a meathead's playground.
I was telling CTP earlier, I was like, I'm going to set a clock, and every 30 minutes I'm going to go from one room to the next and just do something
You never
different.
get bored. And we blend kind of, our training philosophy kind of, that's why CrossFit wasn't a big jump. But like a lot of the philosophies kind of mold into one, and it was always the same philosophy, just that we had more toys to integrate.
Yeah.
So if you master the squats, basic squat and deadlift motions, you might earn an Olympic lift, and those progressions all made sense for our general population. And then when CrossFit came about, hey, you start doing WODs and things of that nature. So really, it was seamless. We also have, before I forget, strongman down in the bottom. So you got to check that out for you.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, a ton of stuff
in the
down
underground.
Oh, shit. There's
I
more?
didn't even know there's another room.
We got to hide those guys.
So what's great about this is I think I've seen that about a lot of gyms that I go to, especially with someone who's very active still in the gym and the programming, is that you can kind of see a lot about their coaching styles and experience based on the equipment and how their gyms are set up. And I love seeing that, where obviously you understand all realms of it. It's not just weightlifting. It's not just, CrossFit only. Like, you see all of it and you see everyone's needs and you try to bring it all together. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because I've been stuck as a weightlifting coach for the last few years, just gotten very deep into it. And, every time I coach, say, a CrossFit class or a regular client, I'm just so de-stressed. It's like, this is what it's about. It's fitness. It's enjoying this. And it's just the athletes get so hell-bent on their performance and making it to the games or the nationals, et cetera. Like, it is very stressful. And I become a different person. I realize as a coach is like, look, this is dangerous, hard stuff, and I'm very serious, and I have this look in my face. Everyone around here thinks I'm nuts now, and they're scared of me, I think. But like when I go into this other world, it's like it's different. I'm a completely different person. It's a very fun, rewarding, and as a coach, it's very rewarding to do that.
You can change gears often.
Yeah.
So if a stranger walked up on the street and said, "What do you do?" What would you tell them?
I'm the custodian here. It's a hard question to ask. So I start with just saying a gym owner, and I keep it simple because it's really whatever. I could explain it, but it's gonna take too long to really paint the picture. But it's really just trying to empower people with strength, conditioning, performance, and the same thing I've always done that has enriched my life, and just share it to the diverse populations.
Cool.
And they can take it to an extreme as they want. Like, we have a lot of say masters and elderly sort of powerlifters that have competed at powerlifting meets. More masters weightlifters starting to form, and maybe even some more masters strongman athletes.
Wow.
And of course CrossFit.
Very cool.
I want to go back to asking you, so if I was coming in here and I wanted to, become a CrossFitter or high-level CrossFitter, because you train some competitive CrossFit athletes, how would you train me? Like, how do you train your athletes?
First, I have to start with how much time do you have and what are your goals. So, and that's just really, that's got to be understood from the get-go, because that's going to determine, how much time you have. There's a million ways to program things, and my programming turns into biblical long sheets of hell, and it's because I'm trying to individualize this for each person, and it's like there's so many if this then that sort of scenarios that it's like, well, I'm trying to spell this on paper, so unless I'm there in person with you, I can do this really quickly, but I need you to understand that. So to really find out what makes you tick and what makes you perform properly and how much time I have to work with. If you got 4 to 6 hours a day, we can do everything. I'm going to make you amazing. But if you've got 2 hours a day, few days a week, well, I gotta shave that down really tight, and what's the most important thing. And you might say, well, I gotta do this and this and this, but how do we balance out that ratio of the most necessary thing to make you excel or not get injured and things of that nature? So once I have that, then we start building on top of it.
Gotcha.
How do you kind of determine that? Is that just more of a discussion with the athlete, or like?
Yeah, it's an assessment form that we start with. How many days per week can you train? What are your actual goals? And then it's trying to make sure that it's realistic. Like, do you want to make it to the Olympics, but you can only train 3 days a week?
That can be so hard to explain.
It's like, we can't do this in 3 days a week. Or 2-hour sessions even. So
you hear that a lot. I want to go to regionals, but I work a 9 to 5, and I've only got really an hour and a half a day to train. I'm like, that's going to be really hard, and it's important too. Like you're saying, to have that communication in the front end with a client to say, like, even if you only have an hour and a half, we need to make sure you understand what's most important for you. So when you get to the gym, let's say you miss a session, you know like what the top priority is. So you don't just go do your snatches because you love snatches, because that's not like your priority.
Yeah, it's a quick and slow death altogether. It seems.
Yeah. Now, when you do train your athletes, like, do you incorporate kind of all these different types of activities?
I try to as much as I can, but then it really comes down to though, keeping it simple first and trying to just get them to, the more variety I throw at someone at first. Let's say it's weightlifting, the more they just don't get it, and I got to make them really understand what's a snatch look like, feel like, and
absolutely.
It's the same thing, every time. And so the more variety I have at first, it doesn't help them. So as time goes on, trying to incorporate that is what I want to do, but it's not always so easy, because it's like I've just got them in for this amount of time. They get used to the training and they think that's all it's going to take. Well, you're not doing any other auxiliary upper body type stuff or any other auxiliary lower body stuff that's going to keep you from getting injured and keep you strong in the long haul. And it's hard to then get people to buy into that.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's going to be even hard for even experienced athletes to buy that. Like before we got on the mic, we were talking about how I asked you, have you ever had to fire an athlete because or we were talking about like sometimes it's hard to explain. People just don't get it. Like what I'm trying to do. Like how what's your experience with that? Like trying to explain.
That's at the top of my drives me batshit crazy list. But so really, it's about comes down to communication, understanding that, and everyone's so unique and individual. And when it comes to CrossFit, it's even more complicated. But just in weightlifting, it's a very monotonous sport, and in the sport, the coaches got to really see the lifter and see what makes them tick, and understand do they need more variety type of a lifter, or what kind of loading they need to take on, and what kind of changes do we need to do that are very simple but very radically important in the short term and long run. And so if I don't see them, or if I don't get notes and data from their actual training to kind of digest that, there's always like their opinion, my opinion, and the truth, which is
you're
the data.
arguing at that point.
And it's like
that's one of the biggest struggles I have with some of my clients is getting them to give me more feedback. And I'm not doing it to be annoying. Like, I'm not trying to nag. It's because I can write you a perfect program or try to write a perfect program, but if it's not stimulating you, psychologically as well, like it could be everything you need based on assessment and numbers, but if you're bored during it, like I need to know that, because we might have to think outside of the box a little bit and keep you in tune. So are you really big on that? Like getting feedback from your clients?
Absolutely. It's frustrating because they kind of take it the wrong way sometimes. It's like, well, here's the program, and they think like this is gospel and it has to be done this exact way. I need to know how it's affecting you, and is this actually happening? Is this too much work, too little work? And I actually had one person recently even lie to me on their notes and say they did all this stuff. I'm like, that does us no good. Like, it doesn't help me. Like,
how did you know they lied to you? Did they tell you? Or
I've got cameras.
Oh shit! Holy fuck! Big brother Thacker is watching.
Why didn't we think about that? That's so much better. Go install some cameras, and you can see if they're doing their mobility work or not.
Wait, what did they say when you busted them with the camera?
Did you pull out the footage and be like? Did you just like? Let's talk about this here. Like,
well, I want to ask why do you think that is?
Well, so the wrong understanding of the coach's intention and what it takes to really succeed, and like there's so much that goes on with this, like from tons of media and information nowadays. It's like, well, there's this program and that athlete, and they do this, and they can get inside of their personal lives and see that, and like so they always are questioning, like, how come I suck? How come I'm not getting this type of progress? And they might be someone with a lot of potential. They compare themselves to the wrong people at the wrong times, and they're like, they don't get that, and so then it's like their word against mine, and it's like, look, I've explained this to you 10 times, and then every day for the last like 3 weeks, and you're still not getting it. I need you to just commit and buy into the plan and do the work. And then they get that, and then they'll start saying, well, the program must be perfect. I got to do the work. And then I don't realize that they're actually dying from the program, and it's just too much work here or there, or I got to back off some of the load on certain days of the week to make it kind of coexist. And so without that information, I can't adjust it. And so they just get worse and worse and more frustrated. So that's got to be, you would think it's an obvious thing, but
what, obvious to communicate with your coach? Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you would think so, but
we talked about that earlier, that one of the biggest things with new clients is that sometimes you have to break your own rules to help build trust with them, meaning you have to show them that it's working earlier than you anticipated in a program, because you need to build some trust. Otherwise, like, why would they trust you? Why would they believe that the long cardio or the accessory work is even working? Sometimes you need to like actually put things in to show them, and then they're like, oh, I get it now. And like those little those little
small wins.
Yeah, those little small wins will kind of help build that trust. That's really important, I think.
Absolutely. And and I just hate to have to break from training so much to do that and improve it. And like that's where the CrossFit competitor gets annoying, because it's like, well, this might be the perfect day to do that test, and on my programming, on my paper, this is perfect and it should come together. Oh, but you did this extra other crazy stuff yesterday, and you did all these deadlifts, and you're fried, and now you're actually weaker today. So now I look stupid.
I mean, you're right. I mean, we said that earlier, like on paper, and I'll use myself as an example. I've had more PRs on unplanned days than I have on days that I actually planned it to happen. That's just how it is, and you got to do the best you can. You got to write the plan. You don't have to stick to it verbatim, but you do the best you can with it.
Yeah. Just ever getting to that point to really train and just buy in and commit to the plan and do the work to actually understand cause and effect. It's like, without following a plan to see, well, after I do this exercise, I feel like this the next day, or my snatches suck the next day. And until you really get in that rhythm and routine, can you really digest and understand these things for any of it to even matter. But once you get to that point, those things will start happening. It's like, I feel like crap today. I had a great day training. So, like, a lot of times people wait to the day that they actually feel good to come in and have a great day. Well, that ain't happening. You're going to have to, like, if I waited for the day that I'm going to hit the next PR because I feel good that day, it's
sometimes, if you're reaching the end of a cycle and, you get feedback from someone, I'm not feeling good, like just stay the course. Unless you're getting, like, injured, obviously you don't want to be stupid about it, but, like, that's how training works. Like, you stress, you adapt, and then you come back and you're better. So sometimes trusting that process is really important, and it's just hard, though, because psychologically everything's telling you no. So listen to your coach.
Right, absolutely. Trust the process.
Trust the process and communicate. Like, that's probably one of the biggest things, I think.
Is that, you think that's built into someone, or is that something that could be trained, or getting them to trust?
It's a little bit of both, but trusting the process and it's a scientific experiment always, and it's like if the science is good or the program is good, you should be able to repeat it. And the difference is each person, individual, is going to respond differently to the program and the volume, and so it's understanding the coach's job to understand that and then change it if they're a good coach. Which hopefully you hired a good coach. They will change it based on so it's too much volume, it's too little, you need to do more singles or more multiple rep type sets, and to understand that can only happen once they trust the coach, follow the plan, you get your information. So that's answering one side of that. The other side is that buying into that, a lot of people have terrible exercise ADD, and they just want to do a little bit of everything, and then they can't commit to it, and drives them nuts to have to do the same lift 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah,
for God's sake.
I'm pretty guilty of that, man. Like, I need a lot of variety. Like, I did weightlifting for 4 months, and I had a blast doing it, but when I finished, like, doing the competition, man, I did not want to go back to it. I want to go back to variety.
So and it comes down to understanding what your goals and weaknesses are and what it's going to take to do that. So great lesson in terms of cause and effect and really what that takes, but most people never get to that point to really feel the difference. Like, so, okay, I need to get good at weightlifting or swimming or say, metabolic conditioning. I got to really focus on that and not lose, of course, all your other elements. But
So speaking of finding out what those things are, can you walk us through, like, if I walked in the door and said, hey, Justin, like, I want to be a weightlifter, like, what are the steps you would take to build a program for me? Like, how would you figure out, do I need more technique? Do I need more strength? Like, walk us through what you would do.
Okay, so there's a lot.
Tell us your secrets.
There's a lot of little things involved with that some are can be complicated, but some are really pretty simple, honestly. So again, answering the first step of that is what's your goal and how much time do you have. From that point, it's really about developing consistency and accuracy of the lift. So is it accurate? Is this a snatch? Is this a clean and jerk? Is it remotely close? Is it safe? Is it look the same way every time? And does this person have any concept of that? Getting terminology, things like that down. So getting accuracy down, then making it consistent so it looks the same every single time, so it becomes an automatic reaction. They don't have to, like, have this checklist of how to actually do the lift every day, but you can't get there until you follow a checklist for a while,
And would you stay in that phase, or would you, like, how long would you stay in that phase until they got it?
They have to graduate from that phase.
Yeah,
and when they don't, they have delayed progress forever, and the problem is months to years down the road, then they have all these stupid habits and things that could have been done much better from the get-go that could have been worked out earlier, and that's the biggest problem I have now, actually, is with our program, is, like, a lot of things that should have been done in the earlier stages were not coached well. We got a big team now and a lot going on, so those things fall through the cracks. And so what has to happen better is from the get-go, those little steps, those little drills each day, the ABCs.
And that's where you got the ABCs,
right? Exactly.
And I don't think I've ever graduated.
Yeah, right.
I'm just trying to force the triangle in the square hole.
And we talked about, like, earlier about buying in, that can be so hard to get somebody to buy into that. Like, what, you want me to like work with? Like,
I'm here to lift. Why am I doing drills?
Yeah,
right,
exactly. Why am I doing these drills?
So you got to have a little bit of both of those. But as they graduate out of that, then I would start to add more sophisticated, organized assessments to it with consistency and accuracy. But that's a good other side tangent though that we should maybe touch on. But looking at cleaning
nothing but time.
Cleaning up and polishing up errors in, say, certain movements versus that buy-in of actually hitting some heavy weights. And I think a lot of times younger and like sort of intermediate coaches will get hung up on like, this has got to be perfect every single time. And like, I'm a bad coach if I do that. It's got to be safe, of course. And not saying don't be wise. And all these things sound good in theory.
Good enough.
But it's like at the end of the day, you got to push the top end. You got to get strong and hit some numbers. But you got to they got to earn that, and you got to make good decisions. But then you back off and do a lot of good technical work. They hit their big rep for the day, back off and do a lot of, hit it when they're fresh in the beginning of the day, and then working on their technical flaws thereafter. It's a much better balance than you can never touch this weight because you're just not doing this right. In my general population, look, I'm not going to hurt you at all, and like we're never going to risk it. Numbers aren't that important. It's your composition, your safety, and health.
That's so important. Say that again.
Which part?
The difference on the risk and first reward for Gen Pop versus someone who's after performance.
So if I'm after this just for fun and fitness and whatever, it's like, okay, we can take our time graduating from the ABCs and things like that. And I
want to do a proper plug for the ABCs real quick. Right. It's the Thacker method, Justin Thacker's ABCs.
We got a bunch of free videos.
I use it all the time with clients remotely that have no barbell experience.
So if you're listening out there, tell them who that would be for, and you can go check it out. It's all over the internet. But
the Thacker method's for everyone.
Yep. But that's your warm up, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So it's how we teach the lifts, but it's also a warm up. But it's very overwhelming to see at first, but it's really not that complicated. That's why it's the ABCs, right?
Start with the PVC or empty bar.
Yeah,
everyone I've talked to that does it, they say, man, first time I did it, man, I was dying. I was so sore and sweaty, but you just get faster at it each time you do it, and you just learn more. And
it's no different than like getting your white belt in karate, and you have to put all that time and work out every little nook and cranny and corner of the lift, and then I'll peel off this one layer, peel off the next layer, and then you only need little parts of it for maintenance. And then it's like I'm falling apart, so I need to phase some of that back in, say in a beginner base phase or something.
Okay.
And so it's just really understanding those little elements, and it's color coded. So if you look real close, we got to make.
I didn't mean to derail you. I just wanted to properly
but it comes down to the fun. The general population. It's like it's really there's no risk worth hurting the individual, and it's like, so we're not after lifting PR weights necessarily. There's other ways to do that and push that intensity out and envelope without being too risky. And weightlifting and CrossFit is another realm and environment, and if their goal is to compete, you got to do that.
You got to push
that's
that
the
limit.
sport, and so it's got to be calculated risks, and helping them understand that and appreciate that and respect that, but then giving them a little bit of that carrot in front of them to continue to buy in.
Play every once in a while. I was about to ask, how do you handle that? That's such a common question. We get it all the time, like, how long do I keep people in this safe zone, this training skill zone?
I handle it by banging my head against the wall in frustration every day.
I don't know the answer. I mean,
it's extreme patience with each individual, because the thing is, each individual is so different, and if you got 20 people at once you're working with, it's really got to be handled properly. And to convey that, one person might be extremely ready that day, and you got to rah that day. The other person's like, chill out, you're good. And so I do more percentage work now than I ever have in my life. I used to see it as very unnecessary in the reps and quality guide of the program, but that's very easy with one person.
Okay.
When you have a whole lot of people to save them from themselves, it's like the percentage benchmark for today is XYZ. That's as good as a PR today. If you hit 93% on this Wednesday, outstanding. And from there, that's all I want. I want you to do back off work at 5% less, et cetera, and hit the reps within that scheme. And so they're getting high percentage lifts, but then they're getting a lot of good quality work in at the same time. So I'm kind of blocking them from themselves, and it helps them stay sane. And sometimes it blocks the higher end number at certain times of the day, but they're getting much better quality reps and they're respecting the training process.
It sounds like you're picking your battles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gotcha.
Absolutely. And if they look great, that day I won't hold them back, but it's like, you look great today, you're killing it. If you want that next rep, you can have it.
Yeah.
So it's really looking at it and setting up that relationship much better.
And letting them kind of build that autonomy too. Like I get responses from clients all the time that I coach remotely that'll say, I'll have them build a tough single, and they're like, you know what, I PR'd today, I went for it. I hope you're not upset. And I'm like, no, like I can't control when you're gonna want to set the PR. So I want you to know that it's okay to go for it on those days.
Yeah, and that's the problem. It's really understanding it, but still that doesn't mean you're not going to feel like shit tomorrow.
Right.
And I want you to follow the plan.
There is a tax for that.
But each and every day when it's there, you never know when it's going to come and take it. But other than that, the default is follow the plan.
Yeah. And so for these athletes, would you have the movements more simple? Like you would just not, it would be less variation with this?
in terms of that, well, I think that's just a global problem, honestly, and I think it's kind of regardless of that situation, but it's really it's relative to whatever the exercise might be for that day. But another, I guess, moving with this point, I don't want to lose this, but one way I look for, after those initial stages and getting them consistent and accurate, it's a rule of thumb might be if they're missing weights at 80% or less, you're not consistent. You should think of your numbers 80%. You should never be missing those weights. So this person's kind of a loose cannon. I can't trust what we're doing necessarily. And at 90% or above, okay, you're pretty good. Okay, those misses are acceptable.
Getting them stronger may not make them more consistent.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I have this discussion with athletes all the time that are in our programs, and that I haven't got a PR in forever. I haven't added more weight. Well, you're hitting above 90% all the time now when you used to miss. That is progress.
Absolutely.
You are gaining progress and consistency.
That's
which
the best progress.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best progress, because if you go actually compete, now when you get on the platform, you're going to hit that weight.
That's the control in the data. Without data, you can't ever know that. And what's my percent of XYZ? And it's they're always comparing it to their best day ever. And whatever their last PR was, it's stop. It's I want you to hit this percentage at this point in the program, regardless of the fact you feel like crap, and it's relative. It's 80% maybe, but it's relatively 100%.
Right.
In the way you feel today.
And but it still goes. A lot of that goes back to just seeing. I think a lot on social media. It's such and such is just maxing out every day and hitting a PR every day. How come I can't do that? How come you're not programming?
Why aren't you looking at your program as much as theirs?
Right. No kidding. Right. Their program better than ours, right?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Actually, I think I want to ask you. So, what's your opinion on? We just put out a video on when me and Kurt went to Louis Simmons' place and
back in
2015?
March 6, 2015.
Yeah. So
the date.
What's your opinion on banded Olympic lifts? I'm curious, hearing from, because you've produced pretty high level, Fernando Reyes trained at your gym, some other
Fernando Reyes and didn't produce him by any means, but definitely had some fun working with him.
Oh, okay.
But we have Emily Abbott, Stephen Wallace, Megan Grantham, really awesome up and coming lifter, and Richard Beamer. A handful of different people, and all kinds of people come and go from various teams through here actually. But really,
what's your opinion?
My take on this is, it's very well proven and documented for increasing rate of force development, and your recruitment is there's positive benefits in general strength conditioning aspects with this. That's very sound, and I buy in with that. When you
using bands.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, it's a gimmick and novelty item, though, when you're trying to work on a technical issue. So, if you're trying to get faster under the barbell, that's one way to do it, and it'll work, but your timing technique with the barbell is going to change, and it's just it really changes those mechanics up. There's other ways to develop speed, and really it needs to be under the lifter's control. I can have you do a slow pull all the way up with a certain percentage lift, then have to, not build, and you can't pull as hard on the bar, so the only way you can do this to successfully make the lift is pull under faster.
Right.
And it's all relative to your control. I might do a fast clean or a slow clean, and it's all dependent upon the lifter's control. So I want you to go at 80% speed right now. And so it's another way to do sort of the same thing with way less of a risk.
Right.
So yeah, you're going to get faster on that bar, and it's going to make you pull a certain way off the floor. But pauses do that, hangs can do that, blocks can do that. It's just to me, it's a complicated mess to have to set up all these things to do such a lift.
It does take a little bit to set up.
So I think that's the more important point is what other things are easier to do that could get the same stimulus?
What's a lower hanging fruit?
I'm not saying it's bad,
right.
But what else is just easier to do?
Yeah, and I'm more of a purist I prefer more of our training to be specific of snatch and clean and jerk, and I really like to see that first, and who's this going to make sense for? That population pool is very small, so you might get a benefit from it, but okay, great, that's 1 out of 100. Who's earned the right or need to do such a crazy thing?
Yeah,
in a pull or a squat, that's way different. I would see that. I don't see the need to use such a device for most people. It's did you follow the program or not? Can you even squat well? Can you even do a basic pause squat well? Then we'll look at other things.
But if you're talking about that athlete, then it's something to maybe consider.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. Interesting. Yeah, I was gonna ask, it's out of how many lifters you have, how many would be able to set it up correctly and do it right?
0. I mean, there would be a few, honestly. There's a few powerlifters that have had some more experience with it, but it's really, it's gotcha. It really is as simple as, okay, it's in the training box, in the toolbox, but it's just such a fancy tool that do I really even need it for success? And it's and here's my final acid test. It's sure this has been used a lot, but there's no successful training program that, classically that's really used this as a major tool in their toolbox.
Use what's worked and proven to be
There's a
worked
lot,
in the past,
of course, there's tons of different things that work and all kinds of different training models, but that's just one thing that's just the most obscure in terms of weightlifting.
What are some of the training models and things that you study that you kind of apply? Like, what are
anything and everything is influenced weightlifting in my perspective. I would say, I've been, I like the specificity concepts out of the Bulgarian approach, but that doesn't mean
specificity meaning like
snatch,
doing doing the three basic
lifts. Just do the lifts.
Yeah,
knowing what it is.
Explain that real quick for those that don't know.
It's just really just the concept of what if your sport is throwing a baseball and pitching, you should pitch a lot. Not throwing a football is not going to be the most specific way to make you a good pitcher or throw a baseball. So if your sport is shooting hoops, you're a free throw shooter, whatever, and that's your specialty, you need to really do that. So in weightlifting, it's snatch and clean and jerk, and all these specialty complex lifts. If my intent is to fix a flaw, then it has a specific use, absolutely. But that's not what a lot of people do. They just do variety for variety's sake. And for me, that's just novelty stuff. Like it's good for say CrossFit complexity and getting used to doing a lot of different things. But a good weightlifter who's good at snatch and clean and jerk, if I ask them to do a complex, they're going to be way better at doing that than someone who does clown show stuff all the time.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like they're good with the barbell already, so it's going to take me a little bit of time to figure it out. It's not a big jump because I already know how to do great snatch and clean and jerks. But there's a lot of problems with that, of course. Just breaking up monotony of training and recovery, things of that nature is where I put a lot of that stuff in. As a rule, it's not like I need variety for variety's sake.
Okay.
Unless it's active recovery or the number one use I use for it is just for technical flaws.
Yeah,
gotcha.
I think that's a great takeaway. Is like not just doing variety for variety's sake.
It's got to have a point.
It has to have a point.
Right.
It has to have some kind of purpose that you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, otherwise, it's just like we talked about, like the other lifts they should be doing, and like we don't have time. So if you're doing novelty shit, and we don't have much time.
So in this scenario, what would you be considering like novelty stuff here?
Anything beyond. Okay, so if the most specific would be snatch and clean and jerk, then the next most specific might be a power. Then it might be, say, a pause lift or slow tempo lift or something like that. Then into the hangs where it's not off the floor, then into blocks, and then any other variety from there, complexes, etc. So
gotcha.
They're all great, and they've served a lot of purposes, and it's great to cross-reference motor patterns and whatnot to really increase mastery. But for the very new beginner, it's not. A lot of them are not very helpful.
Gotcha.
But if I'm trying to strengthen, there's simple ones like a power clean to a clean plus front squat might be helpful to reinforce certain things that are specific complexes, but they get crazy. It's like, now I want you to do a power, then a hang plus 2 squats, and then a jerk with each leg.
Pause,
and then
blow.
Back to
did I leave the gym better at this lift?
Right. Now I'm more confused than when I got here.
Is this all talking about for a beginner, or are we talking about for anyone?
That's a broad stroke, everyone, but mostly for beginner, it'd be very confusing. I see most people do better with specificity because one thing they got to realize is I lift better on these days of the week because of recovery purposes, and I'm still trying to master this lift and how it goes. You don't go into the gym every day and shoot your basketball and make it perfect every time. You might have to do a few extra shots. I'm just tired today and I'm just not as sharp as I was. Learning that basic stuff has to happen first. Then you get fancy and add in the cute stuff that might be it's an art and science. So it's like, so what is the art that I need to add to this to make this just a little tighter?
Yeah.
And is this going to be a great success or a big waste of time and failure? And that's where it's really, you got to be really accurate about it, where it's kind of frustrating and really, if someone just needs to do something fun and different and break it up, that's fine.
And when you were at your peak lifting, were you? What kind of training were you doing?
It was very I'm on the far end of the spectrum of simplicity, and it's stressful to me to add a whole lot of different variables to my training. It's like I want to think about working my ass off and keeping it really simple and mastering this. It's like it's the same thing all day long, from point A to point B, lift it, point A to point B, lift it, and through that, I learned more by feeling the lift 10,000 plus times and knowing that when it was off, what do I have to do? I don't need to do a hang. I need to know that I need to face my pull a little bit better, or pull under faster, keep the bar close. It's simple stuff like that, but that's after years of training.
That's after years of knowing how the bar is supposed to feel, how everything's supposed to feel.
I was talking to Alex about that earlier. I came in and trained and did some snatches, and I'm snatching once a week now just to keep touches on it, and not training like I was a few months ago, but I warmed up and I noticed I wasn't using my hips completely, and I kept catching things in a power, and I wasn't pulling under the bar very fast. I worked up to 110, and I was like, I got to start all over. I stripped the bar back down and I started completely from scratch because I just felt like today I'm not getting the point that I want right now. So I think that just comes with learning and more experience.
And it's a version of that, so jumping way ahead to more of an elite level lifter, someone I've had train 5 to 6 days a week for a couple of years and are at a national level. I would say so for today's workout, so whatever you hit, I wanted you yesterday to work up to minus 5 to 10 kilos from that as a practice for today. So I know exactly, like today, you only have 3 attempts at this meet. I need you to make sure you nail this first one. There's no second chances. You can't ramp up again. And that, to me, is specific training to practice for the sport of weightlifting.
Right, a competition.
And I know it's a lower percentage. It shouldn't be stressful because you're a weightlifter. You do the lifts all the time.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be stressful to ask for, say, a sub-opener weight as practice. So tomorrow you're going to feel really sharp and right on, and there's no question about it.
Gotcha. I want to ask you a little bit about the programming for your gym, for the lab group. Team lab.
The CrossFit or the weightlifting?
Oh, the weightlifting team lab. So if I ask you about like my individual touches on a weightlifter, like it sounds very specific in that you do a lot of individual assessment, which is awesome, but a gym setting is a little different, like with a team. So if you're writing a cycle for the whole team, how do you do that? Like how do you figure out what's the priority for a group of people?
So I have a level 1, 2, and 3 program that's pretty basic, and it's based on how many days per week that they train and their basic needs and priorities. And from there, it's a very, like, that's why some of them get really long and wordy, because it's like there's a lot of needs and ways this can go, but it's also pretty comprehensive and conclusive for that level of lifter. So think of level 1, 2, and 3 as beginner, intermediate, and advanced.
Okay.
And so that really determines how often you might snatch or clean and jerk, how often you might squat and pull, and some of the strength lifts that it might phase in throughout the week or spread things out. And so that's very broad, general at first, but it's got to be individualized from there, and that's where the note taking to me is the number one thing. Like, it's the top of the list.
Note taking for the athlete taking
for
notes.
the athlete and for the athlete and the coach to correspond and have information to work with. And it's like, so you felt like crap the last 10 Mondays in a row, and you didn't think this was going to be a good day, but you hit, like, I found there's a positive correlation to you feeling like crap and you hitting PRs.
Yeah, that's true, man. Every time I feel like shit before a meet, I smoking in a meet. If I feel good.
Yeah, and it's really
different.
And it's interesting because it's like you'll see all kinds of random variables that are completely obviously irrelevant. And it's like, so that's interesting to know, but it helps you. It's that buy-in you'd asked earlier. It's like you need to trust the process, get to work, and go one set and rep at a time, and realize that's why you warm up. Things will tighten up at each weight as you go, and we'll see how it goes. And if I need to give you one cue, more finish, tighten up, then that's all that needed to happen. And as a coach, and I see them at 99% confidence that day, I might start giving a little bit more rah to commit. Come on, you're there. You're right there. And their confidence is probably dropping fast by the second. They don't think it's going to be a good day based on whatever real and unreal factors, but you're not that far off, and you just need to be a little bit more aggressive and stop doubting yourself. So those simple little individualizations happen, but then the programming adjustments and tweaks happen from the base program with the individual and their notes, and that just really takes life. So it's really, the real answer is what the lifter puts in, they get out. So the better they, like, when they don't show up and they're flaky about their attendance, I'm like, I'm sorry, but I can only give you so much. You got to buy in, you got to show up, you got to do the work. Until then, you can't cry about it.
So you write basically a general kind of base program for the different levels, but then when the athlete, seeing how the athlete performs, that's when you will go in and make adjustments.
Whatever tweaks are, yes. Because it's really, it's got to be individualized that way. It's really what's going on with their life and their schedule, and is this a fun person or I'm a competitive only person? And they're all fun. Like, I got to touch on that. Everyone's in this for fun and enjoyment, but it's like at the high end, like, is it more fun to you to have at a social club or to do good? And at the end of the day, it's like you got to weigh that out. If you're here just to have fun and like I'm too uptight for you, then fine, but then you got to be honest about that. Then go hang out in the corner. Otherwise, if you're here to get really good, when you hit that PR, we're all gonna smile.
Well, you're gonna,
you might feel like crap, and you're just gonna do the work and kind of grind through it. Interesting.
How are you training these days? I saw you. I got on the Lab Gym Instagram, and then you. Okay, first of all, you had a huge deadlift, and you were like CrossFit. And now I'm like, is that CrossFit? What you doing these days, man?
So it's interesting. There's a lot behind it, but it's all secret.
Okay.
But so last year I was doing some competitive weightlifting more than I had in a long time. It was kind of my last shot. The Olympic trials was coming up. I was like, let's see how close I can get to all this and what I have left. I'm very old.
How old are you? Yeah, I'm
35 now, and it's like,
nah, you ain't that old. I'm 30, man.
I'm very old, 35.
So as a weightlifter, it's like 120. I think. So my strength, like after my knee and shoulder injury that I had, like the biggest thing that dropped off was my strength. And then what I didn't realize is my technique changed a lot from my stiffness and my positions around my injuries, and I'd compensated a lot, and I got worse and worse. And although things were starting to come together, my strength finally caught back up. I was hitting some good numbers.
What'd you do to build your strength back up?
So I had to never in my career did I ever make strength and squats actually the top priority of my focus ever. And people that know me now would be surprised to ever hear that actually. And it was that.
So you're saying you didn't prioritize squats?
I started as a powerlifter, and so I had a good strength base early on. I started powerlifting at age 10. I didn't start weightlifting until 17. So I had a good strength base, but I was doing powerlifting movements, so it was different. I had to learn a lot there. But, my efficiency numbers were pretty good when I was at the top of my game, and I'd always snatch and clean and jerk first, and squats were always an afterthought. But then I realized I had to push them, and that's when my best total came to life. It was when I got my strength up, but it was never. It was always an after snatch, clean and jerk thing. The priority was always hitting the lifts first.
Can you say what you mean? Can you explain efficiency numbers?
So my snatch to clean, so my best front squat then was 200 kilos, and my clean jerk was 180. So it's about 90% ratio, and that's what I would like to see. And that's correct math, right? So that's what I'd like to see in an efficient lifter, and snatch being about 78 to 82% of that.
Okay.
And my back squat was always kind of higher. I'm really good at grinding and sticking through lifts, and as a powerlifting my whole life, that was always a number that was higher. But to me, it's not as good of a correlation to the lift as say a front squat.
Okay.
And so those numbers were really tight. But now, I front squat 217 now, and I cleaned 175 last year, so my efficiency's not as good. But my technique's different. I train differently. Strength is way more priority. And I realize now at this point in my life, training as a weightlifter, it's like you're training for that big lift every few months or longer. It's like that's a fleeting state. I can't commit to that anymore. I know that as I age, I want to keep my strength and power and ability to lift heavy weights as a squat. I might transition more into sort of a powerlifting influence, and that's something I know I'll be able to do forever. And lifting, I just enjoy doing it, and I love it. And not having the pressure of this huge PR coming on all the time is not what I need.
God, that's such a mental
pressure. You own a business now. Like work stresses are different. It's different than when you're 20 years old.
Absolutely, and I just can't reasonably commit to that. And that was my last
ditch.
Peak that was my last I thought I was done years ago, honestly. And I was like, let's just see how this goes. And I just kind of ran with it, and it was fun and all that. But it's kind of like I had to kill weightlifting in my heart. Yeah. It was like I had to burn this out of my system so I could finally walk away and not want to be a competitor anymore. It's like
it's a hard thing to turn off.
You had to hit rock bottom with it. It's kind of like, okay, I've had enough. I'm good. I get it.
Yeah.
And I love the sport. I'm going to do it forever, but not like that. And so that was good. And
how did that make you feel, man?
Like, good and bad. I'm still. It's a day to day. It's like alcohol recovery kind of.
It doesn't go away.
No. And I
because you're an athlete. You're a competitive athlete.
Yeah. And I'd approach it very healthy in that regard. Like I'm just happy to do the lifts.
Take that energy and put it into coaching.
And the funny, that's part of it too. It's like I had to learn to hate coaching at the same time. So the whole sport was like, man, like this is all my life's been for so long. I just gotta I gotta appreciate it differently and chill out. And it's like that high-end competitor mindset all the time is very unhealthy if that's all you ever do. So keeping the perspective of, yes, I want to be a competitor, but I want to do this for my whole life.
Yeah.
I want to enjoy it my whole life. And so it's like chill out. And when I found out though, my strength numbers are better than they've ever been. So I'm smarter now. I'm slower in my progressions. Like I've got really nice mathematical correlation to the progressions I might take over the long haul, but the numbers I've been deadlifting and pulling and squatting are crazy shit I've never thought I'd ever do that are now, that's still a focus. So when I do my Olympic lifts, I'm doing heavier lifts at a higher frequency than I ever expected.
What
so I was more
there
patient about
with
it.
Your emphasis on strength?
So without giving too many important secrets away, so what happened was I went to this period of I didn't do any Olympic lifts at all whatsoever, and I was working at home exclusively for a little bit, and it was just, okay, if I compete ever again, it's going to be in powerlifting, and I've always wanted to get back to that. That's where I started. That was a sport I was better suited for, and so I started focusing on that for a little while, and I realized there's a lot of I could do this faster and more efficiently, and I could cut a lot of work and time. So I cut my training down like in half, and it was great.
Your training volume?
My training volume and hours of training, and so things got a lot quicker, and I was like, okay, this is great. I can do so many other things with my life. There's more than just training. And so
there's more than just training? So seriously?
Yeah, my
get in, you have an ABC lift, and you're gone in an hour and a half. Man, that's great.
So I shaved off a radical amount of time, and I was doing it just to be healthy and smart about it, and so that was pretty eye-opening, and my goal was not to get to high-end numbers, just to be able to do it and not feel like crap. And so time went on, and so I was doing a lot of, let's call it like EMOM type training, where I was doing a lot of quick, short rests and more singles and things like that. And it was like, I'm moving faster and I'm not messing around. And like all that psychodrama you have in your head when you're not feeling good that slows you down from getting into the workout. I'm like,
less time to think.
I have to do a set every 1 to 2 minutes and keep going and get it done. And like I stopped thinking about my knee hurting and all those sorts of things. Next thing you know, the numbers started skyrocketing. So I was squatting 250, 260 kilos last year every week of my life.
Oh, wow.
Over and over routinely. And then this phase I dropped to where 220 was murder for me. And so now I got it back up to 260. I've hit 260 like the last 8 weeks in a row routinely, And it was all resolved this slow buildup, and I had no urgency on it. It's like, I will not go up and weight for at least 3 weeks in a row, and many times it's more. I want it to be a low stress weight that I can walk up to without having to lose my mind and be cool and calm and controlled about it. I mean, I'm still crazy, but but it's a matter of like, this is not a stress to me, and I'm not worried for life and death necessarily, and I'm coming in here and making this very routine weight. Next thing you know, the lift started feeling so freaking light. I mean, this week,
you didn't have a pressure to meet an expectation every time.
And so the volume increased, the numbers increased, and the relative intensities all kept jumping. And so now, like this week, I deadlifted 291 kilos on Monday. I backed off with 280 kilos set after that, and then Wednesday I did 3 singles at 280. And today I did 5 singles at 270. This is more deadlifting and heavier lifts than I've ever done in my life. I didn't know
Has
this
that changed how you train the team? And your
there's a lot of little things, but I do a lot of that with the actual lifts themselves, actually, in different ways. And I do a lot of that with squatting elements, but the lifts are very routine and light. And like when I remember before with deadlift, I was always just naturally suited for deadlifts, but I never were able to push them as a weightlifter as much as I would like. Now that's my goal, is to break 300 plus kilos with it. And so it's cluster type, EMOM type training, and that's something I've always done. It's just taking it a lot further. So with squatting and stuff, it's been very helpful. But in the lifts, tons of the CrossFit competitors, they've seen all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, very cool. So I want to ask a little bit about, we touched on the percentages earlier. I'd like to give the audience something to take away from this in terms of some numbers that they could kind of aim for. So I'll try and give you a specific scenario, and let's talk about what percentages you would want to see. Like, let's say an Olympic weightlifter, someone who's trying to be competitive, like what are like front squat to back squat, front squat to clean ratios. Like I just want to hear your take on them and what someone could aim for to know if I'm efficient.
Okay. There's a lot that could be addressed. There's all kinds of outliers on this, so it's just like giving someone a diet. It's like this: one man's treasures is another man's poison, sort of a thing.
Sure.
So it could really be all over the place.
Justin, pull your mic down.
So in general, cleaning jerk about 90% of your front squat is ideal.
Okay.
And then a front squat of about 85% of your back squat is pretty ideal.
Yeah.
Now within that, then we have our clean and jerk number established based on our front squat. Then 78 to 82% of your snatch should be your clean and jerk. Now, or other ways to look at this.
78 to 80% of your snatch.
78 to 82%.
82% of your
of the clean and
of the snatch to clean and jerk.
Snatch.
Okay. And so, and other numbers you could look at would be your clean should be 75 to 80% of your back squat, or around 125% to 140%.
Gotcha.
Is another one. So you could play with all those numbers and see where you actually fall. But basically, snatch to clean and jerk should be snatch at 78 to 82% to your 100% of your clean and jerk. Then the next number I look at is that my clean 90% of my front squat.
Got it.
Those are the main ones there, because the back squat can be huge. The deadlift numbers are all over the place. I've seen a lot of elite level lifters who are snatch grip deadlifting 190% of their snatch. And I know lifters who can barely snatch grip deadlift probably 120%. And be amazing lifters, but it's like I'm one of those lifters that needs a lot of floor pull strength, and it translates for me well. And like I was pushing my snatch grip deadlift to obscene levels because that made sense for me. But anyway, just to give you a starting point, because beyond that, there's diminishing return. Like, where's your efficiency? But a lot of things you can do can tighten up your efficiency. Technique, flexibility, all those things.
Yeah, we can't assume it's strength, but it's just good to see those. I'm not saying those are strength efficiency numbers, but they're just efficiency numbers, period.
Just to start with.
And it could be a mobility issue.
Right. I mean, it's just a way to identify maybe where you're lacking. Like if you,
it's a good place to start.
Yeah. If you squat, 200 kilos, but your clean is only like 130. Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Then there's something going on here.
And there's definitely people though where I look at like elite level scenarios where it's like Dimas is one of the worst efficiency lifters ever, but he's one of the best lifters of all time. Yeah, it's like when you look at his numbers and his squat numbers and ratios, they're terrible. But best lifter ever. The point is am I the best weightlifter or am I the best squatter at the end of the day? And no one ultimately will care what your squat number is. But
I don't know. He's in the U.S. now. He may come after you.
I know. I'm worried. No, all respect for sure. I want all his medals for sure. Yeah. But I wouldn't have said. I never would have mentioned it to him. It's like, well, he apparently needs to squat this much to make these lifts so efficient and so routine, and that is what it is. So after you get to a certain level, there's diminishing return with that squat to lift number. So what used to be a 5-pound improvement in my front squat would lead to my clean PR. Yeah. You might need 15 pounds for every 5 pounds, let's say, down the road. Yeah. So that's why you see these elite level lifters hitting these huge numbers in the squats that don't seem to correlate and translate like Dimas' mind.
Interesting.
I've got a question that I want to ask you. What do you feel about the future of weightlifting, especially United States weightlifting? I mean, they just closed the OTC. Like, what are your thoughts about, like, where's weightlifting going now these days?
No, I think it's a great future, honestly. Like, the OTC is very unfortunate, but like, it's no surprise to me at all. It's like, I know what it takes for me to keep this place open, and and the perspectives, and like, I mean, I have to go to painful, ridiculous extents to keep this place alive, and it's like I have to hide my office closet to get things done to keep it open. It's because I love the sport of weightlifting. I love all things considered, but that's an expense, and we don't do it for money. Likewise, the OTC, like, if you don't produce, you're not going to get money from us. You're not getting sponsorship dollars, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
So for weightlifting to continue to excel, I mean, it's going to be a lot of micro places like us that have such such a place with coaching and all that. So I think, we'll see what USA Lifting comes out with in terms of their overall organized plan. I think it could be great, actually. I think decentralizing that gives a lot more people a lot more opportunity to produce and perform, and it decentralizes all those resources into one place. Yeah. So to me, it makes sense. As long as it's well organized, there's proper incentive for the facility. For example, I'm all in, absolutely, but I still got to pay the bills. Right. So I'm not. When I realize, like, I'm putting my own sanity, my own business, future, family, etc., all at risk to do this, I can't do that.
Yeah.
So I'm on the same. I'm no different than OTC. I'm more than happy to do it, but I also need support. So so when lifters flake out or they aren't made to be a lifter and all that, those things are real. And if that's all in the back of the individual, then that's not very helpful. But the sport in general is obviously growing. There's tons of lifters, and I've seen more talent and ability and depth than I've ever seen.
This past Olympics, Sarah Robles won bronze. What was the last time we had a lifter win? Like 2004?
I think it was 2004.
Yeah, 2004.
Well, Cheryl Hayworth.
Cheryl Hayworth. Yeah. So like this is and then all of our lifters did really, really well.
Absolutely.
Like Morgan King placed in the top 10, and Jenny Arthur, and then Kendrick. Like all of our lifters did really, really well.
Great weekends.
I've always felt we had a great weightlifting in the U.S., and it's just seeing all the positive tests now is outstanding. That's the best thing ever in my opinion. It's like now you guys can see where we truly place in an even playing field, and so now that you see down,
a little closer.
Now that you see where people truly place in the end, and like people are bumping up, you wouldn't be surprised to see Kendrick come out with a medal from a past competition.
That's true.
So that's great. So the better that's policed internationally, and the more talent we have and continue to develop, I think it's a very optimistic future, more than I've ever seen. The OTC glip there is unfortunate, but I just think those resources can be placed. There's so many great coaches and athletes out there that I'm excited, and like, all things considered, I'm all in terms of doing my part to coach and have athletes be produced and those things. But resources have to be provided.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very optimistic about the future. I mean, considering like with CrossFit and all this expansion of weightlifting. I mean, you were at Reno last year. There were 1,000 lifters there. Like, the sport is getting huge. Yeah. Our talent pool is going to get even bigger. So, I mean, Morgan King, like, she came out of nowhere. Right. So, I'm pretty optimistic about where the future is going.
Absolutely. And even when I noticed that we loaded at the World Championships last year. And
you guys were at the World Championships.
The fastest plate changers in the West.
Yeah. It was a ton of fun. And then I noticed, I didn't realize that some of the CrossFit competitors were actually competing at Worlds and weights. I was like, so everyone who ever
Tia Toomey from Australia,
Annie Thor's daughter.
Annie Thor's daughter was at Worlds too.
Yeah, and so it's like if you ever doubted that your lifting abilities were important for your CrossFit game, then that was a pretty good answer. I mean, it's the best were there, and and so seeing that, how that produces, what's the chicken or the egg here? Like, what's producing the weightlifter? And I think just exposing these amazing athletes to weightlifting, when they can do that, you can, like, I think, was it Carl Webb that got criticism for doing the Olympics and the games?
No, that was Tia.
I was like, are you serious?
He's seriously, right?
That guy was ridiculous.
I was like, what pays her bills? CrossFit pays her bills right now. And her chances of winning an Olympic medal are not good right now. So, like, more power to her.
I don't know what the point of that was, what they were trying to say. Yeah,
but
haters don't hate.
Yeah. Hell, if I could do both, I certainly would. And, and I think if someone can do that, hey, it's just good for weightlifting. We get more people involved. And the person that's meant to win that gold medal is going to choose their priority as the Olympics over probably the games. Who knows? I mean, Olympic medal's worth millions. So the CrossFit Games is way up there if you win, I guess. But I don't know if it's the same.
Just as a thought exercise, if there's one thing you could do, kind of, so to speak, what do you think that would be to, like, kind of progress the sport for the U.S.?
Me or everyone?
For everyone. Like, is there one kind of like the
franchise lab gyms?
First domino in the chain to knock down to
follow your ABCs. take good notes so you can see cause and effect and learn what weightlifting's all about and what program and what changes have to happen for you. And at first, just be a good student and be diligent to that for years. I've got 25 years of notes that I refer to still to this day, and it's always something different I take from it when I look at it and try to analyze that when I see different programming and see the relationships. And like at one part of my career, did I need more variety? At certain points, I need more specificity, things like that. That has got to be from the coach to the athlete, and from that point forward, you can actually see the masses progress because we have more information, understanding of weightlifting. It's not like Instagram's our number one source of information in terms of weightlifting expertise. You'll see there that there's so many things that do happen and it can be done for a successful athlete, but nothing's going to work if you don't stick to it's a basic plan that's the meat and potatoes. Those are those 10% type things that can fit in and optimize things. Yeah. So the whole what I'm really getting to here is like Russia did well because they had a lot of lifters and a lot of people following a template sort of plan. So they knew that, okay, the best athletes are going to make this plan, whether it was good or bad, look very good. And so this athlete is a great athlete, and no matter what plan we put them on, they're going to succeed. That's a champion. So finding those people is really what this is about. And so having a basic program, the best are going to rise to the top. We then take them and then, tweak them and give them the resources they need to excel. So the more that more clubs and basic general weightlifting programs exist, the more numbers we see and can develop that.
I was just about to say, more great coaches like you taking chances on opening facilities like this and starting clubs. This is what, in my opinion, what keeps people more involved with it is showing up and having a group of people to high five with and lift with all the time, especially in weightlifting. You're not alone. Lifting on a platform alone all the time is tough.
Well, hold on. Here's the real question. Sorry to interrupt. This is good. If you said you're losing money on this, or like you're not making money on this is out of love, what's the advice you give to someone who wants to set this up?
I was going into that. What are you going to tell? You go ahead. You can do it.
That's my question, bitch.
So yeah,
what are you going to tell?
What is the real no bullshit fucking advice you have to? What is the struggle you have to do to make this actually happen? And what's your advice to that?
Be a better businessman. So we've got a lot going on, and trying to keep everything like. All the plates spinning here is a lot. So if you were just doing weightlifting, it'd be a way different animal. So if you were just doing CrossFit and say weightlifting and complementary, like your world will be a little bit easier. So I've got very big bills to pay with this place. So I got to keep that in perspective. But, having, building your weightlifting club sort of like a CrossFit gym and making sure you've got everyone paying dues and whatnot, like every talented lifter out there wants a stipend and a handout, and like we have scholarships we give to people that are talent-worthy potential people. But at the end of the day, is it really paying off? Like, I don't know. I mean, it's like I almost would rather this guy pay so he shows me that he's like committed to it, and like he's a member of this team and he's no more special than anybody else. It's like, so getting everyone to be on board, like those guys could also help clean things like that, reduce the stress on that place. So having that team cohesion and understanding the greater good of the place versus like we're a bunch of individuals.
Balls down to community.
Yeah. So that would definitely help. But getting that community and getting a good small place that you can finance the place in terms of the expenses, and it's like this is an amazing setup that's like there's a pain in the ass for me to pay for, but you see all these other countries out there who have like little alleys and stuff that are fine. So it doesn't have
in
to be,
Africa front squatting on boards in the dirt,
sharing platforms, things like that. It doesn't have to. You could have 4 platforms and have an amazing weightlifting club. It just has to be a tight unit and people have to work together. People here get their own platform. It's a really nice thing. They have their own barbell platform, and it's great. So we should be producing 24 world champions out of here in no time.
I see that some of the barbells in the racks over there have locks on them.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I don't want to offend anyone. But no, I mean, everyone's got their own barbell. It's nice. They spend a lot of money on it. It's expensive.
Nice.
And so we let them we should charge rent. But we don't. But they keep their bar there.
That's pretty funny. I've never seen that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I haven't been to enough weightlifting gyms, I guess.
It's like having your own
I've never
golf
seen
club.
that before, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's certainly, and it's like your own Excalibur. You can lock it up, and you don't.
Because you don't want some like noob here dropping a expensive $2,000 bar from overhead on the floor.
So here's the irony of it. And this is why I have a certain attitude about it. Is my stuff gets broken every day. Like I get a brand new Alico set in there that we win for like the loading thing. And the next week it's broken, and it's like people don't respect it. They slam it down.
Did you catch them on camera? Did you get
them?
Yeah.
I know who the assholes are, but so like when your stuff gets broken, then they come in and lock it. I'm like, I'm gonna lock up everything in here.
Yeah.
That's how I feel, but I get it totally. You just got to respect the equipment, and that's how the business stays alive too. You don't have to buy new weights all the time.
Well, that's great. That's good advice. I mean, I know there's a lot of listeners that want to start weightlifting clubs, and now they have a good good source to follow. And
I think it just goes back to what you're saying. Like, if you're going to start a weightlifting club, it's got to be from the passion and from the heart, because it's one of those things where right now there's just not a lot. It's not a lucrative thing.
It's not. It's not a business-minded thing unless you figure out much more intelligent things to do. I'm just stupid. Like, from day one, I've not been a good businessman. It's like I want to actually be a trainer and help people, and that's what I'm passionate about. I don't want to talk about money or nothing.
Yeah.
Don't confuse that with me. And so I'll do it to a painful extent, and I get in deep, and it's like all I'm thinking about is programming and coaching and whatever it's going to take for this lifter. I mean, it keeps me awake at night. So if you have that passion and you have good sensibility about business or good partners, that'll keep you afloat.
I think you partner with your brother, right?
Yeah.
So he takes care of all the business side of the house.
He does all right. He does all right.
I think in general, I think what you have is spot on. Like, it's got to come from this place of you want to help. You know?
And people got to respect that, and like as a community, it'll work. And having a good system that everyone, I think being organized and how people train and all that's very helpful. Just like I was saying, like, from the get-go, having a good relationship with your athlete of this is how you're going to earn that PR attempt, and this is how you warm up each day, and having these things organized is way more effective and easier to control. And as time goes on, you start getting the people that are experienced to be more kind of like, what's the word? They become leaders within the group to kind of teach the new guys how this goes. And like, you've earned your stripes. You've gotten all this out of me over the last 2 years, and help the new people break in and understand the process. And then all these things need, like, from counting attempts to coaching at meets and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Without that, it shouldn't be all just one person sacrificing everything, because that won't last.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Have you noticed a correlation between people who train alone and people who train in groups?
That's a great question. There's a lot of interesting perspectives on this. Now, absolutely, the groups.
Not mean necessarily group training, but like they're around supporting each other at the same time.
I have a very divided opinion personally on this, because I have a very unique scenario where I've always trained by myself, and like it was always in my garage or in my basement, in my office, you name it. And
that's trying to a high level doing it.
Yeah, and it's like it's between me and the barbell, and that's it. It's like this is therapy for me, and like I don't need that. I don't want the external motivation. It works, trust me. In an environment, definitely, I'll rise up and be more ferocious and invincible and in public and all that, but it's like I don't want that to be my driving force. If I can't do that without my own internal drive, it's probably not safe or smart, and I don't deserve it. That's my really aggressive opinion about it. But
that's a good. I mean, that's a valid
But if you did
point.
have it, then you could sprinkle that on there.
Yeah, I think you got to be able to do that and have those periods of like. Megan Grantham is a great lifter I have now, and like she had to go train by herself for a while, and it was very good for her to have to like not be so dependent on me to tell her every move. But when she came back, her perspective was different, and she was way more. Grown up
some
in terms
autonomy.
Of, it was very helpful, but like it took our abilities to work together even further actually. And so she just wasn't clueless about the process.
Yeah.
And so then she could see the errors in other people, and like they're acting crazy. What is wrong with them? And it's like they're all having fun and all that, but you're the one in your focus doing all the work and going to all these national meets. It's great.
I think I would have to adjust to a group weightlifting setting.
Yeah.
I'd have to have percentages. I'd have to have a lot of constraints, because I would probably try and max out everything.
Well, one of the coolest things,
one
of the coolest things I ever saw was when we did that first episode with you at your old place. Is I had never seen it. I'm sure it happens elsewhere, but you had about 10 lifters out there, and you had a notepad, and you would just go from one to the other. And I was like, man, this looks fun as hell. To just
it's great.
Be one of those 10 guys.
I could lose. I could do this all day, every day. And it's just at a certain point, when one person acts crazy and you have to deal with them, the other person gets missed, and like they all got to respect how this all works. And it's like, look, I can't baby you so much right now for the greater good of the group, but like we're going to talk about this at the right time. But some of those things then get squashed on their own, because they probably weren't that important to begin with, little issues like that. But being able to stay on the whole group and stay focused is not easy, and that's why you need good assistant coaches and people going one at a time, people sharing platforms, things like that. And even where you sit as a coach, so you can see the whole room at once, is strategic.
Cameras,
but
so
it's
sit in your office.
Absolutely, definitely, and like using technology is very helpful.
What
like
is
the
the craziest shit you've caught on the camera?
Oh boy.
I bet you got a lot of awesome
videos. If you look up on YouTube lab gym dance video, you might find an old video from the first place. I took people doing our warm-up in here. It's a dynamic bodyweight warm-up. And everyone was doing dance moves, random stuff. And like, so I've made this dance video for the whole warm up. And they're all just doing random dances. They had no idea. It's hilarious.
That's funny.
But craziest thing I probably couldn't even tell you. But there's all kinds of funny stuff people don't realize.
Some late night videos.
Late
Busted.
Night. Doing some late night sessions in here.
That's awesome.
We never close.
Is there anything else you want to tell us about? Anything you want to add? Any new products come in?
Well, there's some things that are coming. It's a little premature, I guess, to bring up.
Sorry, we're premature. It's cool.
So there's a lot, like, talking about these actual things and the difficulties I've had. Like, I've been looking at whatever programming technology in terms of organizing training and whatnot, and like
apps or anything.
Yeah, apps and all. And I've exhausted all kinds of things, and that's why I feel like I've been building a space shuttle for the last 6 months, and I usually always use Google Sheets to kind of. I've got like 20 tabs open, and I'm looking at all my athletes' stuff and their notes, and I can take notes real quick. And, and then I looked at all the other stuff out there, and it's like nothing can do what I need, and like these things are awesome, but like they're still very, very limited, and so I've been taking that further and further, and like programming in my stuff, and then having all these different variables and adjustments and programming in their progress that they should have. So like, I want you to add this value for over the course of the next 52 weeks, and this is when you get that PR temp sort of a thing, and there's all kinds of great stuff worked into it. And
wait, 52, not 6?
Exactly. And so, and it depends on your training age too. Like, are you brand new and like you should expect the slack taken out right away, or have you been training for 5 years and you're outstanding, and I don't want to see PR out of you for every 6 months. And so that can be worked in, and they kind of get that. It makes them less crazy, makes me less crazy, and it's way more organized. And even the warm-ups and stuff that they should do is all kind of built into this very quickly, and I've got all my options all programmed in, and I can really communicate way more effectively, make better decisions than I would myself because I've have it all built into this. So that's in the very early stages of where
So you're building this.
You're building like a application.
I knew nothing. I mean, I knew very little about Google Excel for a while, but like I've taken it to some insane lengths, and I've had all those kinds of sheets basically explode on me, and I built a few versions that really were just too strong to actually be functional, and starting over and whatnot. So I got to go to different platforms and whatnot. But
I was cleaning out some boxes the other day. I'm moving, and I found an old 2003 Microsoft Excel book. If you want it,
absolutely. I need help
on your what was that computer? Inspiron or whatever. Like your
I don't know, the old CompuServe e-machine or something.
It's funny though. Like the more I've applied this, like even with the percentages and benchmarks and predictions, what I'm really interested in is predicting progress and performance. And like even with human error involved with all this, I've got some incredible numbers and percentages to look at that make decisions better than I ever could. And like that's part of what I've applied to my own secret training, and it's like, this is brilliant. And so now the buy-in is actually programmed on page, and I'm like, I'm even falling for my own shit now. It's like, this is incredible. Like so following that trend, and it's all connected to each day of the week that you train, and the numbers you've hit and how many times you've hit a certain number. It's all connected, and it helps you make really good predictions and decisions, and it then allows you to know your ebb and flow of your good weeks versus your bad weeks, and you can kind of auto-correct for that.
So this would be for somebody, like, once this is made.
It's called Megatron, if you're interested.
Is it really?
It's a transformer?
That's the pet name I have for it.
Okay. That's the code name? That's the code name?
That's what I'm going to name my daughter.
So, like this would be for somebody, like, you give this to somebody, and they'd plug in, like, some numbers maybe, and then it'll just spit out a program for them? Or
Yeah, so it does a lot of that. Now, a lot of this is still dependent upon the coach's integration. So it's mostly on that end, but absolutely, there's a lot of those decisions built in for the individual.
I feel like this is where kind of training is going now. I'm seeing a lot of people putting out kind of like auto templates, or just like programs like this will figure out what you need to do as an athlete or a coach to program for people. I feel like this is kind of where training is going.
It's kind of, I've realized I'm so...
Or at least programming, at least.
I mean, there is a formula to the way I see things, like from the data I have and the way I think, and I would coach someone, even the sequence that I would make decisions is very mathematical in terms of like, okay, this would be my first priority, this would be my second priority, and how I'd think through it, and it's doing that for me. And I've done this for nutrition stuff as well, and it's really... Okay, so I can't be there for everyone all the time.
People want individualized,
and the ball's being dropped. It's like, so this is such a nice... So it allows me to individualize better because I've already got my shit organized.
So once it's available, where would we get it? LabGym.com?
Megatron.com?
We'll see.
Megatron.com.
I don't even know. Yeah, Megatron.com, and we'll of course
keep us posted on the social medias, and we'll plug it out there.
What's your Instagram account? LabGym
It's the _ lab _ gym, and I'm somewhat active on there. I need a good social media expert to work for us now.
Oh, I heard we got you some employee earlier.
He
saw
one of your coaches.
Episode, and he's like,
one of your
moved
coaches
out here.
He was here coaching the 10 a.m. CrossFit class, or the 10:30.
Well, act like you know him now.
I'm doing.
That's all right.
I was probably watching the video, but yeah, I mean.
And now we removed him from the job.
Do you have a shaved head?
No, actually he didn't. He was the one.
Yeah,
he was the one. Yeah.
And then also check out World Class Weightlifting.
World Class Weightlifting.
That's on
we still offer that.
BarbellShrugged.com.
Yep.
The ABCs,
Yep,
all that included in that.
Labgym.com. The ABCs are in there, and
got the posters.
The posters are legit.
Yeah.
Posters
I don't know if I
you
can
can
zoom
get
in that far.
from Labgym.com.
Those things over there. Those things are awesome.
That's Tom Suma right there, best junior lifters in the country.
Oh shit, Tom's here. I didn't know Tom was here. I knew he's from Missouri. I'm gonna say hi to him
right now.
He's about 20 pounds bigger every time I see him.
Well, I was just at Travis's place and we were talking about Tom and Travis had nothing but good things to say about Tom, but Tom is a freak of an athlete. He is so athletic, it's ridiculous.
He's my Ian Wilson was my favorite lifter for a long time, for American lifter, like recently.
Tom's technique is
for
really
many
good
reasons,
too.
and part of it was Ian just such a badass. He's ferocious and fearless and all that. And the thing about Tom, he has the same qualities, but is just smoother.
Yeah,
his
technique is great.
Love you, Ian, but Tom is just like, I've seen Tom grow up, and like he was an amazing youth lifter, but now that he's grown up and like stuck with the sport, like people don't realize this is the real deal. This is how it really works. Like he's put 8 good years in with Ben Overcamp, coaching him, and Ben's very conservative, meticulous coach, and you got to earn those attempts. Like it drives some athletes nuts, but it's very wise. And over the years, Tom's come automatic and flip. Watching him's like watching any basketball player warm up before a game. It's just smooth as hell. No
I barely
fear.
even recognize him. He's gotten so jacked. He's gotten so swole, man.
And so now he's gotten strong as hell, and Travis has really taken him to that next level with it. And they got a great environment out there, and they've just been crushing weights left and right. It's just pretty nuts to see. But that's why, talk about the American lifting and their potential. That's
where it is.
Yeah,
the
man.
Kids, man. The kids.
So that's something that, it's not overnight. We need good youth programs, and we got Lift for Life Gym here and Jimmy Duke working with those guys, and it's stuff like that really can make a difference. So people that are interested in youth weightlifting, that really help them start there, develop them fundamentals, and build over the long haul.
Yeah, fuck my CrossFit competition,
right? So then it's simple. It's like, so talk about percentages. Like, Tom is so good. Like, he's one of those guys that would clean and jerk damn near his front squat.
Very
PR.
efficient.
If he adds a pound to his front squat, it's going into his clean and jerk. And so he's now like, the numbers he's hitting like 150, 190 routinely, and his squat numbers are not that impressive. But now that they're going up,
he's just gonna get stronger.
Wow, it's like, man, like shit. It makes me feel terrible about myself, realizing with the strength I have, I should be hitting these crazy numbers, but I don't have what Tom has. So he's ballsy, he's efficient, he's fast, and he's
got a few years. You've got a few years.
Right, I got some time left. I'm just going to deadlift my brains out, really. But he just hope he stays healthy and can keep it going all the way,
Right on.
Very cool. Anything else you want to add?
No, can't think of anything now, but I'll send you an email.
It's a great show, man. We appreciate
Episode
it.
500.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for the listeners out there, give us a 5-star review on iTunes. If you're watching on YouTube, give us that thumbs up. Go to BarbellShrugged.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Alex might work something out where you get something cool. You got to find out. I don't know.
You got to sign up, though, first.
And thanks to all the people who are in our online training programs. You are the guys who make this happen. So if you're at Flight, Muscle Gain Challenge, Barbell Shredded, Barbell Bikini, and the new Shrug Strength Challenge, thank you so much because you allow us to do this. So appreciate it. If
Justin,
you want more on those programs, go to BarbellShrugged.com.
Yeah, Justin, thanks for taking the time out of your day, man.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Get that handshake.
Great to finally interview you.
Thank you, sir.
Pound it.
Guys.
Yep.
Boom.
I was just trying to pound him.